Hello, I'm Martin Lewis from MoneySavingExpert.com, and we have just had news that the government is to freeze the student loan repayment threshold for Plan 2 and Plan 3 student loans. Now, while freezing sounds good, what it means in practice is everybody who is repaying will repay more each year, and most people, the vast majority, will repay more towards their student loan in total. Now, this is about both Plan 2 loans, which is everybody who started university in England and Wales since 2012 and current students, and Plan 3 loans, which is postgraduate loans. As the thresholds are different, I'm going to use the Plan 2 loan thresholds, but similar principles apply for Plan 3. So what's going on? Well, the way the thresholds work, they're supposed to go up with average earnings each year. The current threshold for Plan 2 loans is £27,295, and you repay 9% of everything earned above that. Now, next year, the threshold was due to go up to £28,550, which is a 4.6% increase. So clearly, if you're repaying 9% above £28,550, you repay less than if you freeze the threshold and you're repaying 9% of everything above £27,295. In fact, when you work it out, for somebody who's earning over what the threshold would have been, everybody earning over £28,550 is repaying £110 a year, roughly more than they would have done. Now, of course, even if we restarted and it started to go up again with average earnings the following year, the fact it didn't go up this year, unless they increased it in the future to catch that back, would effectively mean over the 30 years before the loan wipes, most people would repay £3,000 a year more for their student finance. So this is increasing the cost of student finance for most. And we don't know that they are going to restart increasing it with average earnings. And of course, each year it's frozen, then effectively, compared to what was originally promised that it would go up with average earnings, people are paying relatively more. I mean, they do it with taxes, and it's called fiscal drag. This is the effect of fiscal drag. This is the actual name of it. But effectively, freeze a threshold and people repay more than they would have done. Now, why are most people worse off from this? Because there's an argument that you're paying more each year towards a loan, so you repay it off more quickly. Well, that would normally be true on a normal loan. But let's remember, the student loan is a loan that you repay 9% above the threshold, and you do it for 30 years, and then it wipes. And the stats currently are around only 17% of people repay it in full within the 30 years. Now, they will gain from this, because even though they will repay more each year, because they're repaying more quickly, they will pay less interest in total, so there will be a marginal gain for those people. But those 17% of people are the highest earners. Everybody else, well, there's a gap, I should be honest. You know, probably about 5% more people will now repay it in full because they're repaying more quickly. But the vast majority, about 3/4 of university leavers, just repay 9% above the threshold for 30 years until it wipes. And that 9% is now bigger because we've frozen the threshold. So in effect, for the vast majority of people, this means you will repay more in total. And when you look at that in its totality, that means the highest earning graduates gain from this, and the low to mid earners pay more. Those at the very lowest end, those who earn below the threshold, it won't change for. So this is in some ways a regressive change in that it benefits the highest earning university leavers and costs the majority of university leavers, the low to mid earners, more. So what do I think of this? Well, look, in 2010, when I was chairman of the Independent Task Force on Student Finance Information, we had it confirmed it was meant to go up with average earnings. Then in around, I think it was 2015, it was frozen, and I fought a big campaign. So it wasn't frozen, they were going to reduce it. And I fought a big campaign then to stop that, and we did get it stopped, and Theresa May actually put the threshold up in 2017 and said it would go up with average earnings. That has now stopped, so it's a breach of the Theresa May promise. What I haven't done yet, and this is an instant reaction, is work out whether those people who started in 2012 are going to be in total worse off than they would have been when they signed the contract in the first place to get their student loan, because they actually increased the threshold by a lump in 2017, more than it would have gone up with average earnings. So we may still be ahead of that level, and I have to do those numbers. But I need to be honest, and I'm slightly annoyed with myself of what I'm about to say, but being honest with you, I am slightly relieved. There was talk that the threshold would be dropped to £21,000. Now that would have been a massive hike, an increase in what everybody needed to pay. The fact that they're not doing that leaves me relieved. They're just freezing the threshold. Though of course, then I worry, has this just been something sophisticated where they talked about they were going to drop it to £21,000? So I would feel relieved that the actual announcement is nowhere near as bad as the initial announcement. I need to do more analysis. I hope you don't mind. This is, off the cuff response, having found out about it 20 minutes ago. But that's roughly the picture. Most people are going to pay more, but it could have been worse. If they dropped the threshold, they could have paid even more than they would have done. I hope that all makes sense.